Corporate Governance Roundtable 2024. And we have been doing the WIL Corporate Governance Roundtable since 2009. So what is it that is different about this roundtable? What is different is that I'm able to say WIL Corporate Governance Roundtable Board Certified Women. That's what I'm able to say. Now, how is it that we move the compass? We move it because the first thing we have to do is to recognize that there is the talent of women. 500 million women in India. That is 8% of the world population. So you got this talent of women, and then what do we do next? The next thing we do is we put best practices for women in the workplace. Now, that is not an HR function. It is a function of the CEO. It's a function of the CEO in a gender maturity curve, where the CEO is at the top of the curve. And the CEO simply has to make sure that there is best practices for women in the workplace. And the best practices actually have to have equal opportunity. That's the fundamentals of all meritocracy. And the equal opportunity has to be validated and it has to be verified. You can't just say we have equal opportunity. The equal opportunity has got to show. And it's got to show in terms of numbers. It can't just show by 1 or 2, 10%, 11%. It's got to show by at least 30 to 40%. From equal opportunity validation, where do you go? You go to balanced leadership. It is equal opportunity for all talents to shine. And I've used that over and over and over again, that's actually the meaning of balanced leadership. So when you move to balanced leadership, only then you can move to balanced boards. It's not possible to move to balanced boards in a vacuum. You can't talk about putting women on boards if you don't have balanced leadership. You may call it C-suite, CXOs, it doesn't matter. Whatever is your leadership, it's got to be balanced. Now, balance doesn't mean you got to have X number of women or Y number of women. It simply means that everybody must not look like everybody else. There's got to be non-homogeneity in the room. So then today we've come to the point where we actually can talk about balanced boards. And in the balanced boards, one of the arguments that I've heard for all the 17 years that we've been doing the WIL Forum is that yes, but there are no women who are certified and who are competent. The problem, according to them, is on the supply side. And I don't know how many interviews I have given saying that the problem is on the demand side, not on the supply side. There are enough women. The problem is that you don't see them. You don't have a gender lens. Your lens is biased. You have to change your lens. You can't do this without changing your lens. The other word for lens is perspective. Once you change your perspective, you will see all the women. It's not a problem. They're chartered accountants, they're lawyers, they're engineers, they're AI experts, they're just so many of them, so capable. We have to create a critical mass of board certified women. And that is why we started the board certification program maybe about 4 years ago. And currently we have 350 board certified women. That's a lot of women. Now, I think at least 50% of them have already done the IIC exam, which, as you know, is mandatory. But that's how you change the supply side and you say, okay, the demand side is the problem. You have to actually demonstrate it. So after 10 years, what we have now is a new element added, and which is called ESG. And again, in ESG, the bias is discernible because everybody seems to have a blind spot. ESG has got the SDG 17 sustainable goals. Now, everybody talks about 16 of them. Nobody talks about SDG 5, which is gender equity. Somewhere along the line, there seems to be a blind spot. And whenever I say, so what did you do in terms of compliance of SDG 5, I actually only get blank answer. And the second part of ESG compliance is called the care economy, which is also called the purple economy. There are 99% of women who are unpaid workers sitting at home and looking after what they call Gen Z or the future generation. They're always talking about the future generation without understanding who is going to bring them up. You don't have a future generation. It doesn't exist. It only exists because you have a care economy. Because there are 99% women doing unpaid work so that you will have a future generation. The entire AI conversation cannot take place till you look after the care economy. Now, this is my lens. You got to listen to everybody's lens. This is how my lens looks at it. You're going to talk in a vacuum if you don't focus on the care economy. And the care economy has to be a board agenda. It cannot be dealt with by a CSR person or a diversity person. It's got to be a board agenda. Just like ESG is a board agenda, just like SDG 5 is a board agenda. And every time we meet, I have only one goal. My goal is to escalate the dialogue. If I didn't escalate the dialogue in this roundtable, actually it's of no use to me at all. The whole idea is to escalate the dialogue. We can't go backwards, we have to move forward. And this is the forward I'm looking for, that the women will tell us what they think about corporate governance. I haven't heard it so far. I hear everything about the women, but I never hear them saying, what do they think about corporate governance? What do they think about future boards? What do they think about shared humanity?